Hey everyone, it's Brian here from Massey's Main Entertainment, and what feels like a lifetime, guys. We're finally back on track here doing another video. We're going to keep it movie related here to try to fill in the gap a little bit before we get our buddy Randy back so we can continue our countdowns, our top 5 movies from each year from 1965 to 79. I'm joined again by my buddy Doc, he's on the mend. Every once in a while, Doc may cough up a lung while we're doing this, but he's fine. Trust me, we've already, we've tested him. He's fine. He's going to be all right. And I'm also joined by my buddy Rich. And Rich, how you doing today?
What's up, guys?
Nice. So what we're going to do tonight to kind of kill a little bit of time, we're going to do the top 10 movies of Quentin Tarantino. We're going to rank them. And how we're going to do it tonight is not the around the horn style that we typically do. We're going to go. Each one of us will list our top 10 movies as we go, and then all 10 all at once for each person. And I'm going to lead off tonight, and Doc is going to go second, and then Rich he really prefers cleanup when it comes to the movies, especially. So we're going to let him do it. To me, this is like one of the easiest ones to do because I'm a huge Tarantino fan. I think he was an important director for the early 90s to kind of again, break a mold about how filmmaking can be done. He did borrow a lot of stuff from filmmakers over in Asia, and especially spaghetti westerns. He loved to take elements from that. I think he's one of the most creative directors that we have, and I really kind of enjoyed making this list and kind of thinking about how I was going to rank them. What about you guys?
I would agree. That's a great synopsis of Quentin, I think, in his career and how he makes movies. And I think they all pull from somebody at one time or another, great directors or not. They all got to where they got to based on what they like as well. So, Quentin really, really good at that. You've touched on the things that he really leans towards: the spaghetti westerns, the Asian vibe, the whole that kind of stuff. He's got a certain vibe to his movies, and I think that's pretty relative throughout his whole catalog, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Rich, what do you think?
Even though, like you said, he borrowed the different genres and the filmmaking and all that stuff, he is an original in a way. His dialogue is like on nobody else. You can pick that out of a lineup, so to speak. The non-linear storytelling is definitely his trademark. And he does a lot of pop culture references in his dialogue and in the music that he picks for the soundtrack. It's just a creative, original style of filmmaking that he developed, and others have tried to duplicate, but they haven't been able to, replicate what he's doing. He's just a master at this particular style of filmmaking.
Nice. Yeah, I agree with all those things. I think it's he's a director that we certainly knew when we started doing top 10s of directors and we thought about it. We knew that he had to be one of those guys. And we had a list of guys, Scorsese and, maybe Spielberg, the guys that we definitely wanted to cover, and Tarantino's name always comes up. So I'm really looking forward to this. So I'm going to get us jump started here and go through this list. So for me, number 10, it's last in the Quentin Tarantino movies. It's my least favorite for sure, though. I'm not really into the exploitation portion of it, of the genre that it comes from. But Death Proof really falls at number 10 for me as far as where to rank his films. I did like Kurt Russell's performance in it. Everything else seemed a little cartoony to me in a way, the things that were happening in it. So I've only watched the movie twice and probably not going to go back to it again. I don't feel like there's anything additional that I can absorb from the movie. So I kept that at number 10. Number 9, I'm going to have Kill Bill 2 here. Of the two movies, this one was just felt really slow in a lot of parts for me, and probably why it's just dropped down on there. I thought the characters were interesting, especially Michael Madsen's character. I thought was a very interesting character, but some of the other characters were just drawn out scenes, and I didn't really care for them all that much. And I just felt like there was a little less action in Kill Bill 2 than there was 1. So for number 8, I got Kill Bill number 1 here, which I felt like the action and things moved along much quicker. I felt much more engaged with the movie. I thought the music was better in the first one than it was the second one. Timed out, especially Battle of the Blue Leaves scene, that whole fight against the crazy 88s and stuff, and then the music that was involved with that, I thought was just absolutely incredible. I loved it a lot. Number 7 for me, I've got The Hateful Eight here. Whereas I like the acting in it. I really like Jennifer Jason Leigh's character and Kurt Russell's. Tim Roth's was very interesting as well. I guess maybe because it's in a confined space, it probably only falls here to me. I thought there was like limitations that there typically wasn't on other Tarantino films because of they really didn't work outside of the cabin that they were in, and maybe that plays a part of what they were going for. But maybe it also plays a part in that Tarantino always talked about how he wanted to do plays, and this is probably something you could actually make into a play rather easily because of the settings. Number 6, I've got Django Unchained here. I really like the movie. I love how they resurrect a lot of older actors and kind of throw them into the mix here. Like Don Johnson's character is absolutely incredible in this. I really liked it a lot. Obviously Christoph Waltz's character is just like right at the forefront, and Leonardo DiCaprio is just tremendous in this film. Again, very interesting soundtrack that you wouldn't necessarily associate with the time frame. They have a song by John Legend in there, who did that to you, and then there's also like a couple of gangster rap songs that are being played in it. That seem very out of time of sorts, but he makes it work in the film. So I really like that about it. But breaking into the top 5, this is where I feel like these 5 always are going to be in the top 5, and maybe I'll move them around when I watch. I've got Jackie Brown at number 5. I'm glad that he did not try to just make another Pulp Fiction film. Jackie Brown felt very different than Pulp Fiction, very focused on like that black exploitation type of film that was from the 70s. Great. Samuel L. Jackson is just wonderful in this. Michael Keaton's character I really like. Robert De Niro and the Fonda girl just all did really, really great jobs in this movie. I like also, it wasn't really non-linear, but it felt they did shoot the same sequence in the mall, like from like 5 different perspectives, which I thought was really cool and interesting. And so Tarantino was keeping up with his own vibe there. Number 4, I've got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is a movie now I felt like I have to keep going back to because I feel like I'm missing something every time, and I do pick up on new stuff. Really great stuff in here. Brad Pitt's character obviously stands out, and there's the whole infamous Bruce Lee scene that caused such a little bit of a bad feelings with the Lee family. And I just thought, listen, it's a what if scenario. It's in an alternate universe. You just kind of have to go with the flow. And I thought the movie was great. Still a lot of cool stuff going on that I feel like I got to go back and watch this film again, though, and check it out. Number 3 for me, this is like where it starts to get really tight. These 3 movies can move around, I think. But I got Inglourious Bastards here, and again, we're back to, Christoph Waltz's character, Brad Pitt's character. I mean, just Brad Pitt going, yeah, when you leave here, you're still going to be a Nazi. And it's just this whole thing where they just like they carve the swastika into these guys' heads and stuff, and it's just crazy stuff. But it's a great film. Again, you can keep going back to it, find new things in there that kind of excite you and that you didn't pick up on before. And I think that's what filmmaking should be about, is trying to engage your audience on multiple levels. So top 2, though, this gets kind of tricky. I've got Pulp Fiction at number 2, and I know that this may be like in a minority of sorts. A lot of people will have this number 1. It obviously was the movie that kind of put him in the forefront of the Academy, and then give him a bigger budget type of situations for Miramax and things like that. But it really was. We watched it in contemporary film class while I was in college. The whole non-linear storyline was fantastic. They resurrected John Travolta's career with this role. Bing Rams, I really love his character in this. Tim Roth, Honey Bunny, and everything else at the beginning of the diner. There's so many. It's just like Godfather. There's so many quotes from this movie that anybody who has any type of inkling at all about the movie, they'll know if you're quoting the movie. It's one of those things. It's just a part of our culture now. It's ingrained kind of in our DNA for films. But number one, obviously, what's left over is the Reservoir Dogs. I remember seeing this just before Pulp Fiction, not much before, a couple months before. My film professor told me to watch it, and I just love the grittiness of this film. Very old style gangster type of filmmaking, and the cast of characters are tremendous. You know, these guys had to take lesser pay just so they could all be in this film together. You know, Steve Buscemi and Tim Roth and Harvey Keitel. And I think Quentin Tarantino in an interview said he learned so much from Harvey Keitel in this movie. Like he told Quentin that, you know, you need to let the actor show you what he prepared to do for a role on the first couple takes, and then tell him what you want. Because he said, sometimes he said, you're going to see something from that actor that he's prepped for the last 4 months, 5 months, that you're going to say, wow, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I approach it from that? And Tarantino said he learned so much just by working with Harvey Keitel about filmmaking, working with actors. It's a masterpiece of a film. Highly recommend it to anybody. And that's my number one, fellas. So
awesome.
Listen, man, I got the same. I got the same top 10.
Oh, do you? Wow!
We're a lot closer than I thought we would be. At least Brian is. We'll see what Doc has.
Yeah,
it'll be. I guess I'll jump right in. I mean, you covered it off nicely, and Rich, you had some good things there after I spoke too. But yeah, Quentin's a writer, and his dialogue is his. I don't know. That is like his stamp on a movie. Is his dialogue. But visually, when he separates that, and you can see different things as he makes a movie, the directing part, comes into play later on as the list goes on, and cinematographies and the music and everything else you touched on, Richard. Well, leads me right into my number 10. Back and forth myself. I have Death Proof also at number 10. So I would say I'll probably say the word dialogue and script and stuff like that and go through this list here, but this is where the dialogue is a little weaker for me in his repertoire here, writing. And I would say there was no caring of the characters, right? That was just a story that went along. I understand what he was trying to do and the grindhouse thing and everything else, but the editing was great in the movie. But pretty cool car chase, but it's just the weakest of his 10 is what I would say. Doesn't mean you can't get the popcorn out once in a while and maybe throw it on if it's there. So. But like that, moving forward, 9 down, I'd say you can probably watch at any time. I'll put it that way, depending on your mood. Just my taste as well. So, but I've got The Hateful Eight here at number 9 for me. So, you said some good things there. I think it's a great cast of actors, and the acting is really good when they do it. But I almost find there's almost too much verbiage for the acting, and that second scene, that second act is just way too long, man. This could have been a 2-hour movie, in my opinion. It's 3 hours long. It's a long haul. Great score, cinematography when it's out there, just looking at it and stuff like that. But it's almost too much of a fill inside to build up the suspense that you get to the third act with, which is quite violent and everything else. But that's cool. It just took a little too much. The suspense loses its suspense after so much time. So that's my take anyway. But my number 8. I got Kill Bill 1 here, Brian. So,
okay.
I like this is the great popcorn flick, man. Don't get me wrong. This is it's a great story. There's a good little backstory in here. She's the baddest ass chick on the planet, man. What do you want? Don't go messing with Uma here, man. So she'll kill you. Just maybe just a tad more over the top, especially that crazy 88 scene there. I love the vein that it's done in, and if it's a popcorn flick and it's like that. But as we go through the list, I'm more attracted to the script side of his movie making. And don't get me wrong, the script and some of the scenes and some of the deliveries inside these Kill Bills are great. And I have 2 higher just because it tones it down a little, where I actually get more of the story to it. So that's how I did my list. So, which leads me to 7. So 7, I got Django here. So. Christopher Waltz, Jamie Foxx, DiCaprio, Don Johnson. Yeah. This is Christopher Waltz is fantastic, man. Jimmy Fox probably doesn't get enough credit for his role, even though he's the main guy in this whole movie. He really carries it when he's there. I mean, the side actors you're dealing with here, DiCaprio's and Don Johnson's and all the other, Samuel L. Jackson in there too is the asshole butler, man. It's just a great cast. It's got a lot of great vibes to it. Curtails a little bit of the Inglorious kind of feel to it in one sense, maybe a different setting, but it's still a great flick. And yeah, we're moving along here, man. This is Django's a classic, man. But to me, that I'm getting into the top 5 here in 6. I'm nitpicking, which doesn't lead me to Kill Bill 2, I guess, at my number 6. So, and as I just previously mentioned, listen, cinematography in these movies and all that kind of stuff, fantastic. I just like it toned down a little bit more. I like the revenge aspect of 2 a little bit more than the big hunt that's especially the revenge factor in 1, I'll say. So, and a little bit more of the dialogue I get from Bill as well, I think is just a little bit more intriguing. And we'll touch on him as we go here. But, Michael Madison shows up in a lot of these flicks, and I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does, man, because he plays his characters in each one of these things perfectly. In my take, and I think acting is. He's always had good acting in his movies, man. This what makes it appealing. Number 5 is Jackie Brown, man, for me. And I like this. Probably I put it right here just because I probably like it because it is different. It's a different Tarantino kind of movie. It shows that he can make a different kind of movie than his own kind of movie, almost in one sense, but it's still his. But he does it really well. And Robert Forster, you touched on everybody else, but Robert Forster in that movie is friggin' aces, man, aces.
Yeah.
Samuel De Niro, Son Fonda, Pam Grier's great. Robert Forster's fantastic in that movie, man. He is. He's the glue on that for me. And this is one of those scripts where it's there's enough space breathing on the script, I think, where it just makes it that much more appealing. And then the 10 scenes as they were happening are really good 10 scenes. Like you said, the 3 different shots in the mall and stuff like that. It's breaking down. Really well made. I don't think Jackie Brown gets enough credit in his catalog, and I know people rank it differently and different like that, but I think there's a lot of really appealing things about Jackie.
Right.
Brian, man, this is going to sound weird. I have Once Upon a Time here at number 4.
Wow.
Yeah, man, you touched on a lot of things. Brad Pitt's fantastic. Leonardo's awesome. I think he's right there with Pitt in this movie. I mean, I know they're both stars, and Brad got the Oscar for this, but I almost think in some senses this might be Quentin's best directed movie. I think that the way he cuts scenes and the way that, I can't remember Leonardo's character in the movie when he's acting and he's doing a scene in the bar and stuff like that. And he messes up his lines and he goes, cut, bring it back again. And we've talked about it before, but Quentin takes the whole camera right back and does the whole scene again like he's making the movie. And he's making the movie showing you DiCaprio going right back into character again. And it's like, man, that's some serious acting right there. I love that kind of stuff. The script of this movie and the dry spells in this movie that lead to there's a lot of tense scenes that's building to tense, and you don't know how tense it's going to be until you get there. And that final act is that's a great finisher, man. Yeah, it's Quentin playing with history, but it's Quentin playing with history, man. What do you want? 3, 2, 1. Holy cow! Yeah, this is flip a coin on any night. I got Pulp here as well. Love everything about it. I think Travolta is really good in this movie as well, man. We know Samuel. I think Samuel probably should have got the Oscar for this, if you want the truth.
Yeah.
Travolta should have been nominated, or maybe he was. I don't know, but
he was.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were both awesome in this movie, but the sides, it's Bruce Willis is really good in this movie, man. Ving Rhames, and when they get their chance to shine, all these actors and stuff like that, and the scenes that they're in, and the different stories that are all going to cross paths here eventually, it's so well written. just like a disaster flick happening in front of you, almost in one sense, but it's just like sometimes really slow and sometimes it's just moving at a million miles an hour too. And it's the script itself just fits so well with the movie. It's a classic, man. Mm-hmm. I saw this one 2 nights in a row when it came out, man. So 1-2. I guess I got the Nazi Hunters going in at number 2, man. I got Inglorious. So. Once again, I find these top ones here, the script-driven part of this, is just so much stronger than, say, the back half of the catalog for me on his stuff. So the script is awesome. What a great little story in the scheme of like World War II. And it's just going after Hitler. And Brad Pitt's awesome. Michael Fassbender is fantastic in this movie. Really is.
Yes.
I find when these are great actors and actresses in this movie. You know, Christopher Wallace. It's that first 20 minutes is you want to put suspense in the movie. Watch 20 minutes of freaking glory. There you go.
Dude, there's no better scene when he whoops up that big pipe. Like my pipe is bigger than yours. That was the symbolism there, right? I mean, it was great.
Give me a glass of wine. No, it's a milk farm. Yeah. Milk. Right. And he's such a bastard. He's like, each one is more beautiful than the next. When he's talking to them, go inside and wait for us. Oh, come on back in. I got the soldiers. You bastard. Inglorious Bastards is could be number 1, could be number 3, could be whatever. I got it at number 2. Mainly it's going to lead to my number 1. Reservoir. Almost a perfect movie in my eyes, man. This is definitely has that play feel that you talked about earlier. A lot of setting in the one scene on a bank robbery gone wrong here. And each character that's played is perfect. The script is perfect. The way it's shot is perfect. Christopher Penn's perfect. Everybody is perfect in their roles. Mm-hmm. Michael Madison was never looked at differently after that. I'll tell you that. But they made some dolphin movies or something just to get break the mold. But music, scenes, the way it's shot. Tim Roth does not get enough love in Hollywood. This guy's a fantastic actor, and we've seen him on a few of these movies already. So I find when Tim Roth shows up, he's a scene stealer in a lot of senses. And that's hard to do with this kind of cast. I'm not saying he's stealing scenes when he's in there, but he's a really powerful actor, and I find that just brings it to the top level, man. This is a masterpiece. Reservoir is my number 1, man. Always my favorite.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, we got the same number 1.
Yeah, we'll see if it holds up.
Let's see if it does.
Yeah, you guys are mentioned a lot of the stuff that I was going to mention, so I'm not going to repeat too much. The things that draw my attention, like I said before, the nonlinear storytelling, the original dialogue, and creating these characters and casting the right people for the right roles. He's a genius. Even though some of these are repeated, like Sam Jackson's in 3 of these movies, and Tim Roth and Michael Madsen, he writes characters based on what I think he thinks they can do. I know he did for Travolta in Pulp. So he's a casting genius and a writer and director on top of it. Not so much of an actor, but I think he even realizes that when he puts himself in these roles. That's it's just like shtick. It's like a Hitchcock cameo almost.
Yeah,
right.
Getting to my top 10, I'm in complete agreement. Number 10, Death Proof, part of that Grindhouse double feature that he did with Robert Rodriguez, his buddy. Kurt Russell's fantastic in this movie. That's the one saving grace of it, even though it's over the top and the chase scene's excellent and the revenge kind of thing at the end. There's a lot of good elements to it, but it's clearly his least effective movie as far as the writing. That's where it loses it a little bit. Number 9, I'm the only one that has this as low. I know you guys are more of a fan of it, but Django Unchained for me has never worked completely, although I like the 3 leads in it. I think it's gratuitous violence at times, and that's just a turnoff for me at that point. That it's just a bloodbath at one point. I like a little violence as much as anybody else, but when it gets over the top, like the next two pictures, number 8 and number 7. I'm going to put them next to each other because they're one long 4-hour movie, and that's Kill Bill 2. I'm going to have it number 8, Kill Bill 1 at number 7. Came out back-to-back years. I guess he filmed them at the same time. Again, great cast again. Uma Thurman's excellent. David Carradine does a nice job. Sort of a comeback for him. I like Daryl Hannah in here. That scene in that trailer is just out of this world. Michael Madsen again. Yeah, the usual suspects. They're all fantastic. It's a revenge movie when it comes right down to it. And it's well done, but over-the-top violence, especially some swords, the sword fighting and stuff like that. There's a reason for it, but martial arts, exploitation, whatever, he gets all that stuff in here. Number 6 is The Hateful Eight, and that's the one that's risen in my list over the years. I used to have it buried right above Death Proof, but I've watched it a few times, and although it is stagey in the setting and that haberdashery or wherever they're hanging out at, that meeting point before they head on, the characters, Bruce Dern's fantastic in this movie too. Sam Jackson, the story he tells, and about Bruce Dern's son, I believe it is, or whatever.
Yes.
That's incredible. And the two best are Kurt Russell and Jennifer Jason Leigh. I mean, they just no holds barred in this. They really chew up the scenery, and it really works well. And Quentin writes great dialogue for him. Jennifer Jason Leigh is amazing in this movie. When you've seen her body of work and what she creates here, it's top notch. So that's my bottom 6. The top, and we all had the same bottom 6, just in a little different order. My number 5 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Great movie. I could see this even moving up further on my list through the years. I'm addicted to this movie when I'm flipping channels. I do watch. I like the buddy contrast. The buddy consist, let's say, of Brad Pitt's character and Leo DiCaprio. One's a stuntman, one's the actor, broken down actor. The things they did, riding around, seeing the sights of L.A. It happens to be 1969, and Manson's gang is hanging out, and you got the whole ranch scene, the hippie girls, the alternate universe type thing, and it all pays off. Not least of which Margot Robbie's in a movie, and my eyes are wide open for that. She's playing Sharon Tate here, and you even get a Roman Polanski cameo of him whipping around in his little Jaguar or whatever the hell it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's writing Hollywood characters into this setting, and he pulls it off beautifully. The Bruce Dern character, who's now blind, living in a shack on the ranch, and
that's right.
Dakota Fanning's there, and then she's like 30 years, maybe 50 years younger than him, and they have a relationship. It's just excellent writing, and you can see that stuff realistically happening. And then there's that guy that played Elvis. He plays one of the ranch hands on the movie too, and he's very effective too. Tex.
Yes.
Yeah, Tex Watson. My number 4 is Jackie Brown, vastly underrated, as you guys mentioned. Pam Grier, great lead role. Robert Forster is the glue, Doc, no question about it. And Sam Jackson's a great villain in this as well.
Sure.
And that whole De Niro and Bridget Fonda sex play on the couch and doing the bongs, and eventually they have a little clash of personalities that I'm not going to give away if you haven't seen it. But great movie, great writing again, and the shooting in the mall with the different angles and perspectives really works well with the bag and everything else that they're doing in that kind of a heist kind of film or smuggling kind of film. Number 3, Inglourious Bastards. It was a tough call because I love this movie too, but I like the 2 above it a little bit better. I love everything about Inglourious Bastards. The swastika scene at the end, I'm creating my masterpiece. That's so perfect for an ending of a movie. The beginning, like you guys mentioned, in that farmhouse, it's almost like a Hitchcockian beginning because somebody's hiding down there, and he's like meticulously taunting a little bit with the woman or the father up there. Just a great movie. The scene in the cellar, the shootout scene, one of my all-time favorites, where they're card playing and the bartender, everybody's having like an Oktoberfest kind of day, and then all of a sudden hell breaks loose. 2, is Pulp Fiction. Tough to put it in the number 2 hole, but it might be his best film as far as greatest achievement, but it's not my favorite, and I went with my favorite as number 1. Pulp Fiction is great. John Travolta and Sam Jackson, what a pair they make. Uma Thurman, the dance scene. Bruce Willis, the boxing saga. Ving Rhames is really great in this movie as well, as mentioned earlier. He's a great mob kind of boss. And that scene in the in what would you call it, a pawn shop or whatever?
The pawn shop.
Yeah.
The pawn shop scene with Zed and all that nonsense going on. It's riveting. It's off the hook. I mean, you don't understand where it's going, and then once you see it, you can't believe.
Yeah, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, and in a little way, I'm contradicting myself because that has some gratuitous violence in it too. But the characters and the story are so strong that it's an easy number 2. Number 1, we're in a complete agreement. Reservoir Dogs. I mean, it's tough when the first film he makes is his greatest achievement for me because I love the way it's weaved together. And you're not getting a shoot 'em up bank robber story. You're getting the guys, where they come from and how they're, getting along with each other and turning on each other and who's the rat and all that kind of backstage stuff that you don't get to see in a regular gangster movie. It's all right here. And they have the weird names and the little suits with the thin ties. Harvey Keitel, to me, is excellent in this movie. And Tim Roth. I can't believe all the blood he's laying in, still kicking at the end almost. But great movie. That's my list. Reservoir Dogs, number 1.
Very cool.
Very cool. Well, I like it. The fact that Rich and I had the exact same top 3. That's great. We all had the same number 1. I think one things I really appreciate too about a Tarantino movie, and it kind of put his stamp on this, is that when he assigns a song to a scene, it's like it hijacks the song. You'll never be able to hear the song again and not think of a Tarantino moment. You just can't. You can't hear "Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon" and not see Uma Thurman dancing in that apartment. That can't be done. And if you've ever seen the movie, which he had a series that he started, Chungking Express, he kind of got the idea. I think he kind of got the idea from that, because I can't hear California Dreaming anymore without seeing this little Asian girl dancing at this little restaurant all around. And I'm going, I just can't do it. Every time I hear the Mamas and the Papas, I start to visualize that film. And he does a tremendous job of it, whether it's the Delphonics and Jackie Brown, or whatever. Like I said, the gangster rap stuff that he used in Django. I just hear those songs now and I go, yeah, I remember that from the film. And he's great.
And Stuck in the Middle with You by Steelers Wheel in that ear.
Yes.
Scene. Another classic. And even the Chuck Berry dance song in Pulp Fiction.
In Pulp.
Yeah, C'est la vie, whatever.
Well, you never can tell. C'est la vie. Either one has 2 titles. But you hear that, boom, you're right there.
Yep, automatically. You're just right there. So I think that's great. But yeah, thanks guys for joining me for this list. We wanted to do this, and hopefully this is the start of us doing other top 10 lists. It helps that when you do a top 10 list that the director has only done 10 movies. That is really helpful, because all of this stuff is going to make it. So
that's true.
It was really nice, and we matched on all 10. Isn't this?
That's incredible.
So ironic, But yeah, we appreciate everybody.
Get that lucky again, Brian. We won't get that lucky again.
No. We appreciate everybody watching the videos for sure. Please comment for sure. Definitely leave your top 10, rank them for us down below. We really would. And subscribe if you would like. We really appreciate it. Look for our continued film series to start up again here as soon as Randy Nelson gets back. We'll start kicking that off again when we're all back into the fold. And we're hopefully, like I said, we're going to continue to do these top 10 director series. So appreciate everyone watching. You guys take care. We'll catch you on the next time. Bye-bye.
Peace out.
All right.